Hello, everyone. Looks like I'm live. Hi. Hi, everyone. How are you doing? Woohoo. Hello. Welcome all to my live show. And what do you think about my new manicure? Does that look nice? And like my giving it away, giving it away. See, isn't it just cute? Cute, my manicure? Yeah. Nothing but tiny hands. I got tiny hands today. Look at that. Teeny tiny hands. Yay! Okay. Enough goofing around. Those obviously are not my real hands. You know what's funny about these? Is they're kind of masculine looking. So I don't know if they make some that look a little more feminine. I just had to be goofy. You might be seeing more of that. That's one thing I like about going live is that you guys get to see the real goofball that is in me. And the funny thing is, I had all those years of teaching dance. I had all these great costumes and hats. And I only finally more recently think I got rid of them because I was like, oh man, did I get rid of that jester hat? That would be a cool thing to put on. Who knows? I may still find one around here somewhere because I've saved a few things from over the years, but I made a good portion of those costumes. And then little by little, when I decided we were done doing the shows and eventually retired from teaching dance, I started selling a lot of that stuff off or giving it away. But I should go digging around and see if I have any other cool stuff. So something just to liven things up. But yeah, I thought the tiny hands were a pretty funny little thing. Have you seen them videos where people are using the tiny hands and fooling people with them, and they just can't figure out why everybody's laughing, and it's because they got tiny hands. So they're fun. Just a fun little prop I thought I'd add to my repertoire. So if you're coming in and you're seeing this later, but you want to go directly to the topic, I came on about 18 minutes early, so just push the maybe 20 minutes. Just go ahead and push that status bar ahead 20 minutes. That's when I'll get into the actual topic about herbs. I'm just going to be talking about a bunch of random stuff in relation to herbs, and I got a pile of stuff sitting next to me right now. So, but in the meantime, hello, everyone. I like coming on early so I can say hi, so I can have a chance to be a goofball and maybe even give a few announcements. And one of the things I wanted to bring up before I forget, because I don't think I have this in my notes. Actually, yes, I do. And that is, some of you know, I've been kind of lamenting over what's been happening on this platform to my channel, especially within the last year. I've been on here since 2016. August of 2016 was when I started my channel officially. And, there's always certain issues, bots getting out of control, whatever. This has been going on forever, deleting of subscribers. But in the past year, things have gotten really bad. Well, things kept getting worse and worse, but it was sudden. So if you're new to this, you haven't heard me talk about this before. I went from like all my analytics, my subscriber gain, my revenue, my views, doing pretty decent. And I was a lot less subscribers than I have right now. And then all of a sudden, all of that dropped by about a third. And now I'm down to it's dropped another third. So I'm down to seeing a revenue, a subscriber gain. Actually, the subscriber gain has really dropped. I'm back down to gaining about what I was gaining back before I had even 100,000 subscribers. Maybe when I had like 20,000. It's crazy. I have never seen it this low. And it's because they're wiping my subscribers out. Now, it's routine for them to go through, and this usually only happens in a one-day period, and wipe out a bunch of spam accounts, and that affects all channels all the way across the board. But this has been going on for 2 weeks now. I've had days where I even had negative numbers, and that's just unheard of for what I've seen. So there was a time I was gaining to 6,000 subscribers in a month. That was my average. I've had some where I gained 22,000 in a month. That was peak. And now I'm down to about 1,300. It's crazy. And that's same amount of time. So at any rate, and then just the views have gone way down. And I know it's more because my content routinely being hidden no matter what I do. And I know that those of you who see my stuff all the time, you say, oh, I always see your stuff. I always see your stuff. And I love that you do. I love that there's people that still do. But know that I'm not making this up. If you go to my last post I put in the community section, I think it's just called posts now. They used to call it community, where I put the picture of the candles on the table and the oil lamp. You'll see a lot of people saying, oh, I always see your stuff. You'll see even more comments of people saying, I haven't seen you in weeks, months, in a long time. None of your stuff shows up in my feed. Now, one of the things I tend to forget to tell people, though, is that some of the people that always keep, that have never been unsubscribed, have never had an issue with seeing my content show up in their feed, are those that are routinely, daily involved, coming in, liking the videos, commenting on the videos. Not only does that help our algorithm, so we're going to say that anyway, but they're the ones that have not had that happen to them. So they have not had to deal with being unsubscribed from my channel or any other channel that they're subscribed to that they don't want to miss any content from. So from what I understand, that will make a difference if you get more involved. At least, I know you don't always have something to say. I have certain channels I watch and I don't always have something to say. I get that, but at least make sure you give the video a like. And the more you're doing, the more you're interacting, the less likely you'll be unsubscribed, from what I'm understanding. Why it's happening and then why it's happening in such a massive amount, I really don't know. I have a few hypotheses. I know a lot of people are going censorship this and censorship that, and there's definitely some of that involved because I've had videos removed. I've had to manually go ahead and remove videos before they get removed when I find, oh gosh, well, I have like 2,400 videos out there. So it's hard to remember what I put out in the last 8.5 years. And it's like, oh yeah, that's in that video. And see, some of the new rules have happened since I started my channel within the last couple of years even, and not knowing that they were suddenly going to change the rules. So I have to find those, remove them, take that part out, put the video back up, or I just reshoot the whole video. Like the one I did recently was a list of antivirals. That one, I just reshot that one because I've had it removed twice. First time I removed it, then they removed it even after I took the stuff out that I wasn't supposed to talk about. So I don't know why they removed it themselves. So, and I do know what's happening to a lot of other people. That's the other thing. When I lament about this, I don't think I'm alone. I just know I know there's something seriously wrong because I know what my analytics used to always look like. And I can go back and see clear back to when my channel first started. My rate of gain right now is where I was in 2016 when I first started my channel. And now that I'm at 405,000 subscribers, in fact, if you go by what my rate of gain was before all this started happening almost a year ago, I should be to 500,000 subscribers by now. In fact, in the past month, I know I've had at least in the past 28 days, over 2,000 subscribers just removed, just wiped out like that. Now people subscribe and unsubscribe. Yes, that happens. That just happens. It's like, you know what? I really don't watch this channel. I do that all the time. I have people I subscribe to and I'm like, they're great people. I just don't have time for their channel. I'm not interested enough in their content and I want to clean up my feed. So I unsubscribe, but then I feel bad because I really like them. So I go back and subscribe. It's silly. I know. Hoping that, at some point, maybe I'll see something I can drop in and say, hey, hi, how you doing? Still thinking about you guys. But anyway, that was one of the things I wanted to bring up is the interaction. And then here's the other thing I also tend to forget to say is that this isn't a guarantee, but a lot of people depend on their home feed to show them their subscriptions. Well, you can't do that. I've always known that. You can't depend on your home feed. If I want to see the channels I'm subscribed to have put out rather than random recommendations from YouTube, I go to my subscriber feed. That means, so you have the option, subscriptions or home feed. When you go to subscriptions, you're going to be more likely to see whatever new content those you're subscribed to have put out. But that's no guarantee. Sometimes even doing that, if a channel is being severely hidden, like mine has been lately, it still does not guarantee you will see it. In fact, I have certain channels I've been subscribed to for a while that every so often I'm like, I know they must have a new video out. They're never showing up in my subscription feed, or I'll see their video in my subscription feed and think, oh, I'm going to go back and watch that later. And then I go back to my subscriptions and I'm looking at what happened to that video? It's not there. And I'm like, well, I guess I'm going to have to go directly to their channel and then click on videos. Oh, there's the video I was looking for. But for some reason it was being hidden from my subscription feed. So you cannot even depend on your subscription feed to show you all the videos from your subscriptions. If like for me, you guys know, if you've been following me for any length of time, I put out 5 regular length videos every week, Monday through Friday. And then Sundays this is kind of the newer thing. Sundays are my live shows. So if after a few days, other than Saturday is the only day I don't do anything because that's my Sabbath. I take the day off from all this. If on any other day you don't see anything new from me, you need to actually go directly to my channel and see if you can find any new content. In fact, a couple people within that same post I was talking about that said, I haven't seen you in a long time. I just went to your channel and looked in videos and realized I have missed a lot of stuff and I have a lot of catching up to do. So there you go. Yeah, so that is really happening. Okay, I should be looking at this clock. That clock up there it's just a little fast. I can see it better. That's a couple minutes fast. Let me see if there's any. Actually, let me look and see. By the way, don't forget, people, to put your questions in all caps. I will still miss questions as they're coming in, especially when I'm in the middle of the main topic. However, know that a day or so after the live feed is over, I go through and look at the chat, and I look for anything that's in all caps and see if I can find any questions that I've missed. And then I'll write those down and approach them either in the next this and that video or the next live show. So just know that excuse me, even if I don't answer it during the live, it's either because I'm in the middle of the topic and I want to get back to it and then I forget, or I just simply didn't see it. Please know I'm not ignoring you, but that I will come back and look through that feed to see if there's anything I missed so I can get back to your questions. So let's see what we got here. I don't see anything in all caps, but see. But I've never been unsubscribed. Yeah. So it's nice that like I say, it's nice that there's still a lot of people that still regularly see my content. I'm really glad there's at least that, but I do think it's the constant interaction that makes the difference. At least trying to watch every day and trying to check in every day. Can you do another video of your, guess what? Common Sense University doesn't give degree, which is true. Good name. I just shot one of those. I'm going to be talking a little bit about some books today, but I just shot a new, it's called Building Your Self-Sufficiency Library. So it's basically an update to my couple-year-old video, 2 or 3 years old, I did on building your preparedness library. So I'm talking about some of the same books, but I expanded on that as well. However, That won't be publishing for several more weeks. It's shot, it's edited, it's uploaded. So yes, after last week when Patrick decided to talk about some of his books, carpentry and all that kind of stuff, I did take that section out too and made a separate video of that. But then I decided, oh yeah, I need to go ahead and do a new library video. And there's always stuff I forget, don't think of. There's several things I meant to say even in that video that I had piles of books out here that only represented a small amount of my books, and I still forgot stuff. I went through and got rid of a lot of You know what? That's another thing I have heard, that if you're subscribed to a lot of channels, but you've got a lot of channels on there you don't watch, it's a good idea to go ahead and go through and unsubscribe from all those, so that the ones that you definitely want to keep following, you're more apt to see their stuff show up. I think there's so many things, but again, the number one best way to make sure you're seeing the content is to go directly to the person's channel, click on the videos tab, not the home page, but the videos tab. And then it's going to show in descending order, or, from the most recent and down. Though, by the way, you can change that. I've had someone recently ask me, how do I go back and watch your oldest videos? You have so many. Well, all you do is right in there, you'll see oldest, newest, and popular. You just click on oldest, and then that reverses the order of the video. So it shows my very, very first video, which was just an intro video to my channel, a little slideshow, and then the grape juice one, and then on from there. But a lot of those older videos, like the fermentation starter video, I've done that one. I've redone that one a few times, just like with vinegar, because I get so many questions and things I didn't think to say years ago when I was first shooting these videos. And so as I go along, a lot of times I'll reshoot a video just so I can answer more of the questions, let alone just, now that I have better lighting, better sound, better editing equipment and all that. So let's see what else. Okay. If you save videos in your playlist, you're less likely to be oh, good point. I didn't think about that one. So if you save videos from your favorite channels into playlists, you're less likely to be unsubscribed. That would make sense too. That's part of being interacting more too. So the more you're interacting, the more you're liking, even disliking, even, commenting, sharing, watching, you can even, like if you have a computer, this is a lot easier to do. And I'll do this sometimes where you can open just like a separate window, like not a separate tab, but a separate window where you can just turn the sound off and click on a channel's playlist, especially if that one has a lot of videos in it, and then just say play all. And then it will play through all the commercials, which will help their revenue. And then you can be watching completely other videos with the sound on. So but you have to do that in a separate window, not in a separate tab. That's going to work a lot better. And then it'll just keep playing and you'll forget that it's even playing. And that's a way you can help some of your favorite channels to, and help you keep from being unsubscribed from your favorite channels as well. What year model is your sewing machine? I've seen 2 Singer treadle machines for sale for $150. That sounds like a pretty good deal if it's coming with a table. My table it's vintage. I don't know how old it was. It was my mother-in-law. She gifted it to me many years ago before she passed. And then my sewing machine it's a treadle machine. It was bought new. You can find it on Amazon. I don't have the link in my subscription right now. I really hate trying to go gather links while I'm on live. But in any of my sewing videos, you should find the link to the treadle machine I have. They make them brand new. Genome or Genome, I've heard it pronounced both ways, is the only machine I know of, or company, there might be more, it's the only one I know of, that makes brand new treadle machines. Now, I love the old treadle machines. I love the classic, beautiful look of them. They're like pieces of art. However, the nice thing about the machine I have, which I've had since 2013, I think was when I got it. So it's about 11 years old. Love it. Best machine longest lasting machine I've ever had. But yeah, I bought it brand new on Amazon. What else was I going to say? Oh, is that you get the special stitches that you wouldn't get on a vintage machine or an antique where you just had the straight stitch. I don't care about a lot of the fancier stitches. I just really have to have my zigzag stitch. That stitch right there is very, very important to me. And so I use the zigzag stitch far more than I use the straight stitch. Love that stitch. So I use a little bit more thread, but I feel that it does a better job of locking things down and preventing fraying, especially when you're talking about like the patchwork skirts, because you got that zigzag, and then of course you can make that as tight as you want to. But it's, I think it's called the T712, because the T stands for treadle and then 712 is the number. So the Genome T712. Or Genome. I've had a couple people correct me on that, but it's spelled Jamone. So to me, the way it's spelled, it seems like it should be genome, but whatever. I don't know what language. Maybe it's supposed to be based on another language, and that's what I'm not quite getting there. So, okay. Oh, time to start. Time to start. All right. So I won't put my tiny hands back on for this one. So this is where I got to start a whole new greeting, because this is where I'll make my separate standalone video. So hello, everyone. Thanks for coming to our live show. And okay, I just totally screwed that up. Let me start that intro again. See, this is the weird thing because this is live, so I can't go back and edit this out. But hello, everyone. Glad to see you all here. God is good all the time. And today's topic is about herbs, generally speaking, but we'll be talking a little bit about foraging, a little bit about what to grow, and a few other points. So let's get to these topics. Now, before I get into covering my points, let me tell you about a couple somewhat more recent videos I have that I link to in the description box down below, both in the live show and also will be in the separate video that you'll see coming out. And that one is, let's see, what was the name of it? Well, you'll see them down there right now. But the two separate videos, where are they? I have them written down here somewhere. Am I looking at the wrong thing? Oh, here we go. 4 tips for choosing herbs to grow in your garden and herbs that I recommend growing. It doesn't mean you have to stick with that herb or that list, or that you have to try to grow every single one of those herbs. But those are a couple of my more recent videos I'm going to recommend. So after the live show's over, you can go check out those links, and if you haven't seen those videos yet. So let's talk a little bit about books, even though I have that, more lengthy video on, building your preparedness or your self-sufficiency library. I want to show you some books again. Because these are just going to be examples of the types of herb books you might want to consider having on hand. There's 3 different basic types of herb books. One would be something like Amy Fuell's Homesteader's Herbal Companion, one I tend to recommend a lot. Now, hers is just kind of a good overall herb book. She does have pictures. She has recipes. Some of them are just for treats, like, a lemon lavender bread or things like that. But she also has recipes for making, did I get the right book? Yeah, I did, because she has the chicken handbook out too, and it's the same size. She has recipes for tinctures, teas, and more. But then she also has some breakdowns of some various herbs that she grows or uses quite a bit, and their medicinal value and whatnot. So just a good general book right there. And there's other books like that, but this is the one I always come back to if you're looking for a book that has recipes, how to use herbs and whatnot. Then the other one I tend to talk about a lot, or type, which I did provide a link to this that has not just this, but a link that shows all 6 of the available US books from this company. They're very well put together, and yet the 6 regions within the United States. So Midwest, Southwest, Southeast, Pacific Northwest, and so on, mountain regions. And anyway, so you can go look at that list. The thing that's nice about these is it's going to tell you, books like this, what is going to be most likely available in your own area, as well as the benefits and how to use them. Okay, so that's another type of book. And then another type, doesn't have to be the same exact one, is having some kind of herb encyclopedia. So if you know what you're looking for, like you'll see when you watch that video, which probably would have already published by the time this separate video comes out. If you know what kind of herb what the name of the herb is you're wanting to look up, an encyclopedia is nice because then you can just go, they're put in alphabetical order, so you can just go through there and look for, or even go to the index and find the, sampling of dangerous herbs. I got this at a garage sale for 50 cents, by the way. But anyway, you can look it up and find the exact herb you're wanting to learn more about, so that that's going to make it a lot easier than maybe these other 2 books as far as looking up something specific. But I recommend having all 3. Where to start if you were just going to buy one book? I tend to lean towards the regional herbs. I think that might be the best place to start if you wanted to start with one book and then build your library from there. It's going to depend on you. But garage sales are a great place to look. Secondhand, you can look on eBay, you can look secondhand on Amazon. And I know I always forget the names of them, but there's other like specific, stores online that are used books. They're specifically a store just for used books, and you can see if you can find those on there. Maybe somebody will remember or know the name of one of those that they can. I don't know what book you're asking about. What do you think of this book? I just showed 3, so I don't know what you're talking about. But those 3 right there are going to be my top 3 go-to books when it comes to learning about herbs. I do have more. I have quite a few more, but those I specifically do recommend. So let's see. The next thing I wanted to cover. Oh yeah, and don't forget that you can also go to your local extension sites, either online or maybe physically, and see if you can learn more about different types of medicinal herbs. But don't just stop there. Look at foods. What kinds of foods grow wild in your area. Like around here, it's like chanterelle mushrooms, blackberries, huckleberries, those kind of things grow like crazy around here. And there's a lot more that I'm not thinking of. And there's a lot of abandoned pieces of property around here that have apple trees that people had planted. But even in our cold, wet area, apples still do really well here. I was surprised because I thought when I moved from Wenatchee, which is the apple capital of the world, pretty much, I thought that when I came here, apples wouldn't grow. Now, typically you don't see the apples put on the same kind of size they do where I grew up, but they're great apples. Our apple trees out here put out some of the tastiest apples. We just gave a bunch to our neighbor across the road, and she was like, these are the best apples I've ever had. Sometimes they're not very pretty on the outside, but on the inside, they're beautiful and tasty and wonderful. So anyway, learn about foods as well that you can forage, as well as the medicinal herbs. So let's see, some other points. But yeah, that will help you when it comes to trying to figure out what to forage, having that book that I mentioned on the regional book, as well as looking at your extension sites. But then a lot of people talk about, I tried one once and it wasn't a great app. I'd like to find a better one and maybe try that again. But you can get apps for your phone where if you see something and you're curious about it, you can take a picture of it with that app, and the app will run that photo and it will be able to identify it. So plant identifying apps for your cell phone, it can be very helpful. I keep meaning to look for a new one because I really didn't like the one I had before. It just wasn't it was lame. I mean, it did help me identify one or two things, but I'm just like, I give up this app. I can't remember what it was. I just really didn't like about it. So yes, I still sell seeds. Remember, if you're interested in the seeds or any other products that I sell, just send me an email to raincountryhomestead@gmail.com and I will just shoot you out the full product list. And I'm always going to do that. I'm not going to break it up into tiny little parts and copy and paste. I'm just going to send you the whole thing because that's going to be much quicker and easier for me, because it also has the information on how to order and payment methods. So it's all in there in one. It's kind of long, but it's there. The reason it's kind of long is there's a couple of things like the chambers that have their own section where I explain how to use it and the sizes and all that. And another product that I can't mention on this platform that we sell that is all broken down and how to use it, how to, and I also provide video links on those too. So yeah. So disappointed in what? Let's see, took her. Doesn't give a degree. You know, here's the thing about degrees. I'm just picking up tidbits. Let me just say this again. I don't base what I'm learning from someone on whether or not they have a piece of paper. I don't care. I don't care if they have some kind of piece of paper that shows they have a degree in something, because that piece of paper does not tell me anything about their actual experience or whether or not they retained any of the knowledge during the classes they took to earn that degree. To me, it tells very little about that. So I like to look at experience. I like to look at, how long somebody's been doing something. Do they actually use this stuff for themselves? Has it really helped them? Those are the things that matter. Degrees don't matter. Okay. Well, in some professions, obviously they matter, but just remember, just because that doctor or whoever has that piece of paper on their wall doesn't mean they're going to know everything they need to know about taking care of you, even if they're the best. They graduated at the top of their class or whatever. Basically, though, all a degree says is that this person crammed enough for their exams to pass the exam, to earn this degree. That's all it tells you. So I'm not trying to put down, going to school and getting an education. I'm just trying to say you can educate yourself and not, unless you need that degree to show to someone else for a job. If you're just looking at getting and giving information, that shouldn't matter. So let's see. Now, what is next here? I know you guys hear me say that a lot, but I'm going to keep saying it because I think we put too much importance on that sometimes, because we think that only people only pastors who've been to Bible college know what the Bible says. No, they don't. No, they don't. There's plenty of pastors out there that only have the very limited knowledge to pass their exams, and they've never actually sat down and read the whole Bible. So that goes for anything. So you just can't trust people simply because they have a piece of paper. Okay, selecting herbs for your garden. So this is one of the videos that I did link to down below. So I'm going to go more into depth in that video, but I'll cover a little bit of this. Is that when you're looking at, besides what you can forage and finding out what grows naturally around your area, if you're like me and you prefer to try to, even if I can go out there and pick a lot of this stuff wild, there's a lot of stuff I know that I'm going to use on a regular basis. I'd rather have it growing just right outside my door so I can just step outside and get it. So, excuse me. You want to, especially if you live in a smallish area, there's just a few basic things you're going to need to consider. What are the things you think are going to work best for you and your family? What are the things that are going to grow best for you? Just because most people can grow dandelion plantain does not mean that everybody can. But there's other herbs out there that have very, very similar benefits that may grow better for you. like, for example, rosemary is just a great antiviral, antibacterial herb. It helps with memory. It's got a lot of great benefits. But around here, it does not grow great. Mullein is another one. Now, I did manage to finally get these to grow, but they're not really suited for a very wet, cool climate like we have, especially the wet side of it. Because, some people just really, when I say we live in a rainy climate, and they'll say, oh, yeah, so do I. And then they tell me how much rainfall they get. And I'm like, yeah, that's about what Seattle gets, which is about a third of what we get. So, what people can grow in the Seattle area or other such areas, it's still going to be very different than what we can get because of our so much rainfall. And things like rosemary don't like a lot of rain. It'll drown them through the winter. I've killed so many rosemary plants that were doing good when I bought the starts and put them in the ground, did great all summer. But once the heavy rain started in the fall that continue clear out through winter and even spring, sometimes we can have, usually 9 months of cloud and rain with a few little breaks in there. Or the rosemary wouldn't survive until I figured out the best place to grow it where it could catch the most sun, but the least amount of rain. And that's on the south side of the house, right over here. Best rosemary plant. And again, with the mullein, it was a matter of getting acclimated seeds. I tried several times. Once I got some seeds from somebody else who lives in the area who happened to have acclimated seeds, I was finally able to get some healthy plants. But these are the things you have to decide. And it might be that, like for me, I was like, I don't really care if I can grow mullein or not. I've got usnea that grows great out here. We can go gather it wild on our other pieces of property. But then after using mullein, especially with Patrick, and it was really been helping him, I decided, I really would like to grow this. And I decided I was going to keep trying. And I'm glad that I did. So at any rate, I wouldn't necessarily say give up. You can keep trying and you may finally get a good plant. Marshmallow was the same thing. I didn't think I was ever going to get it to grow. Now I get marshmallow coming up crazy in my gardens all over the place because now it self-seeds beautifully because it's totally acclimated to this area. So I get tons of marshmallow plants, tons of valerian plants as well, little baby valerian plants coming up. So you have 2 seasons, dry and wet. Yes, though it's mostly wet, and I would say mostly wet and a little wet are our 2 seasons. Sometimes, though, we do have dry spells. Dry enough that we, like I told you before, the year and a half ago, we had wildfires out here. And it's kind of crazy to think our area would get that. So what was the other points? Let me make sure. Oh, I think I might have mentioned this, but your common ailments that you're looking at, like the common ailments that most people will have to deal with, some kind of rash, some kind of cold, some kind of flu, the things that commonly affect all of us at some point. These are the kind of herbs I recommend. If you can grow black elderberry or the Sambucus nigra, I highly recommend it. But rosemary is also very good for that, as is sage, as is oregano. The list is long. That's why I reshot that antiviral video, because I think that's an important one. And I was frustrated when it got removed yet again. So just reshot it. Hopefully it'll be good until they decide to change the rules again. Let's see. And then also knowing what your allergies are. And some things you may not know. I was just reading the video I shot this morning that will be coming out later is part 17 in my natural healing testimonies. And this one lady was sharing how her and her husband decided to get a bunch of different herbs and basically test them on themselves first, to see if they had any allergies. This is the way you got to approach it. You can't just assume, oh, well, this worked for Heidi or this worked for so-and-so, so I'm going to take a whole bunch of it, and then find out you may have a severe allergy to that you would have had no idea of. This is why you always start small and learn about that first. Before you even start growing it, you can buy herbs in little small amounts. You don't have to get 1 pound bags. Like I always go at least with a 1 pound bag whenever I'm needing to buy an herb, because I either can't grow it or I haven't got that far yet to grow it, or I just want to try it for a while before I decide if that's something I want to grow. Now, another question I had fairly recently was organizing my herbs. How do I organize my herbs? Well, I'll tell you something. I am not one to keep a ledger. I know a lot of prepping type people recommend ledgering, and I certainly think it's a great idea. I don't do it because, one, I don't think about it, and two, if I did, knowing me, I'd misplace it with all my other little notebooks like this. Though I've been pretty good about keeping this one. I pick up notebooks at garage sales, and then this is the one I'm using currently for my show. So I write, what the topic is and write all my notes, things I don't want to forget to say. And when I'm done with both sides of the page, I rip it out. When that's empty, I'll pull out a new notebook. But yeah, I'm not good at ledgering. I do recommend it. That might help you. But the other thing is, when it comes to like my food storage, my herb storage, I'm always changing things up. So on my counter, a lot of times if you're watching my kitchen videos, you'll see the shelf that Patrick built for me that's got a lot of my tea related herbs. Those are things I'm most likely to use in teas. But there's more than just that. Some of those herbs are in my spice cabinet, like the cloves and the dehydrated ginger that I get the fresh ginger from Azure Standard and then dehydrate it up into little pieces. Oh, such a great tea. Anyway, but I do try with the rest of my herbs to keep them somewhat organized by types. So I brought this box in because it was actually the handiest one. And this box, it's a canning jar box. You'll see that. All of the herbs in this box are the herbs I use in like my healing salve and my skin cream. So these are all herbs that are specifically good for skin related health. So I've got red clover, not that they're not good for other things as well, because they are, but these particular jars are for that. These are the ones I'm working through when I'm making another batch of healing salve, or I'm making another batch of my skin cream, the oils, the infused oils that then go into the salve and the skin cream. So I've got plantain, honeysuckle, flowers. These are all from my own garden, by the way. Red clover, calendula, rose petals, marshmallow, camellia, lavender, lilac, violets / pansies, comfrey, and dandelion. And there's far more herbs in that you can use, but these are the ones that I have that I use on the most regular basis for such things. So I do have them somewhat organized. If you save these boxes or any kind of smaller, but produce boxes are good too. If you go, you're going down to the fruit stand, the produce stand, and you're buying in, summertime, you're buying the boxes of peaches or whatever it is you're going to can up. Save those boxes. They're sturdy. They're great. I have a bunch of those that I saved, and I sort a lot of my herbs out into those. And yeah, I try to keep, for the most part, like herbs with like herbs as much as I can to help me stay a little bit organized. Okay, now let's see. I think I already talked about some herbs may take trial and error when it comes to growing them. And if you try and it just doesn't work, and you just can't get it to grow, no matter where you put the plant, no matter how many times you've tried, it's time to look for another herb that does something similar. Doesn't mean you can give up entirely, but at least try to find another herb that does something similar. That's why I was really thrilled when I learned more about usnea and how easy it is to access here, especially on our property just right down the road here, just right down the road. Always usnea out there. Let's see. And I think I talked about the mushrooms. Yeah, we also get a lot of turkey tail out there too. And that's always nice. And that's a great medicinal mushroom. So what else? It seems like there was something else. I think those were the main points. So if anybody has, and I haven't been going for quite a half an hour, but if anybody has any questions in regards to the herb thing, then please ask those now. Let's see, I had trouble getting calendula started. Now I have it growing in a pot. Yeah, I find for me, Tammy, calendula always does best in pots. Maybe that's why they're called pot marigolds. When I try to grow them in open garden, I've had some do okay, but they never do as well as the ones I grow in pots. I've same issue with nasturtium. It seems like I do better in pots as long as it has plenty of room. If it's too small, they kind of peter out and don't do so great. But let's see. Was there more? Okay, there wasn't more of a question there. So again, if you have a question for me, please put that in all caps. That makes it much easier for me to see. Let me scroll up a little bit and see if there's anything I might have missed. I'm not seeing. Okay, don't think I'm seeing any. So I don't know if there was, I think I covered all the main points about that. But again, you can find a lot more information. I have so many herb-related videos out there, videos on growing the herbs, and then I have a whole playlist just on the benefits of different herbs. So where I take a single herb and do a profile on it, where I break down its many benefits, how you can use it, and if it's an herb I typically use. Oh, I do remember one more thing I wanted to mention. I didn't put in my notes, but I wanted to make sure I said this. Is another common question I get is, where do I buy the herbs that I don't already grow or I can't grow and I want to stock up on? Well, and that's changed some through the years, but one of my favorite brands is Frontier Co-op. I used to like Star West, but I started pulling away from them because I found that they get far more of their herbs from China than Frontier does. I think Frontier, some herbs you can only get from, Chinese medicine. And so that's understandable, but I just prefer Frontier Co-op anyway. And I like getting it from Amazon because they sell most of their product through Amazon. So they have a wider variety. They have their own storefront there. And if you go to, I guess I didn't link that video down below. And then Anthony's Goods is also, they sell most of their products on Amazon. I mean, as far as Frontier, I know you can find them in your local like health food stores and stuff. But if you're like us and you're remote and you live in a small town, and yeah, that might not be available to you. So this is why I get stuff online. And then Azure Standard now is the place I look at first and see if they have what I'm looking for. And if they do, then I'll compare the prices for a 1 pound bag of this to from Azure Standard to a 1 pound bag of Frontier. Or Anthony's Goods. Anthony's Goods tends to, and a lot of times, have a better price than Frontier, but they may not have it organic where Frontier does. So I look at all three places. If I can get it from Azure Standard for a good price and it's organic, then I usually go for that first. Then second, I'll look at, I'll try to compare Anthony's and Frontier. So yeah, those are my places. So anyway, yeah, I think that's it as far as that goes, that topic. And again, don't forget to check out those videos in the description box, those two. And if I think of any more that I think would be pertinent besides the playlist, I didn't think to link to that full playlist under the live show, but on herbs and more, benefits and uses. But I'll try to remember later to put that down there. So by the way, has anybody seen any commercials popping up during the live? I think I've selected, other than when you first come in, I think I might have figured out how to do it so the show doesn't get interrupted by commercials. I'm hoping this works because I haven't seen anything from my end. So I think we're ignoring, we're getting away from having to have the commercials during the middle of it. So no commercials. Good. Because before I was thinking my only option was to have them set at every 30 minutes. And I was like, man, I just really hate this. I mean, after the live show is done and it's, I'm done with the show and it's done processing, then I can go in there and remove the mid-roll ads. But it's like they kind of force you. They're always finding ways to force you to put more commercials on your content. And it's like, no, I don't want to be interrupted. So if I selected just putting them in manually, and then I just don't do it. So there we go. That seems to work. The best I can tell so far. Here's a testimonial. I used to be a 5X, 6X woman once I started researching on getting off pharmaceutical and using herbs and eating less processed food. I am now a 1X to 2X size. That's amazing. And trying to get off all meds. Wonderful. Wonderful. By the way, I know Deb was in here and she made it. Glad to see you. I hope the birthday party was fun. But I don't see Tyler again. I'm going to have to slap him around. Oh, I forgot to tell you guys that I have no special guest today. Mr. Rain is actually off helping an elderly lady who had no family, no friends, and she needed to move. And like, I think tomorrow is the deadline. Today or tomorrow. So today they're getting, they got her all packed up, I think mostly on Friday. And then today they're getting her moved. So, yeah, that's why he's not here today. But next week, I already have an idea for him to, if he's not busy doing something else, I already told him I have a good idea for something you can talk about. And we'll just wait until then and have it be a surprise. But something that would apply more to him. Let's see, what else here? You know what? He is a good guy. He does have a heart to help people. And he really feels like, we've got, now that he's retired, especially, he's got the time. And, someone's really in need. My heart especially goes out to, ladies who are all alone and widowed. And I don't know if she was married and if she was widowed, but I know she had, this lady he's helping, at least had a son, I think she lived with, and he recently passed away, leaving her all alone. And so she might as well be widowed. And those are the people my heart really goes out to. She's a recluse. She doesn't know anyone. And, that can be a tough place to be. So I think we all need to look at, no matter what our financial situation is or what we're going through in life or the hard things we're dealing with, we think we have to always remember that instead of focusing on our own frustrations and hardships, remember there's always somebody out there that's in worse shape. And maybe financially you can't help someone, but you can do things for them, just like helping them move or, gathering up the people to help move because maybe you don't have the equipment to help them move or whatever it is. Making a meal for somebody, somebody who's just lost a family member and they're grieving, making a meal and taking it over there. So that's one less thing that they have to concern themselves with. There's so much that we can do for other people that it doesn't have to cost you a lot. And there's something to definitely be said at, there's so many people out there that are sad and lonely and they feel like they have no one. And if we can show that kind of love to people, to show them, you know what, I'm sorry you're going through this, here, I just made up a batch of this tea blend that should help you relax a little bit. It's got some catnip and lavender in it and whatever. There's just all kinds of great things that we can do for people. And just remember, there could be a time where you're the one that's alone and you have no one around you and or you're going through some debilitating thing that is just really difficult. You're going to want to know there's people out there that are willing to help you as well. And so I think when we think, gee, what would I feel like if I was them in that position? And think, gee, I would like to know there was somebody there to help me as well. So somebody asked a question. I've had a cough for a month now. There's all kinds of things for cough. I have a special well, you got the elderberry syrup. That's a really good one. I have a recipe for that. I also have a recipe I did just a couple of years ago that's kind of, to me, is a quicker relief for cough, which is basically a hot toddy. Making a hot toddy blend, like a concentrate, is what I do. And then you can either add that to a hot tea, just a little bit, or what I do if I really need it, even though, yes, it has a high proof alcohol in it, that's part of what really helps it, because it kind of numbs the throat. And then it's got spices and stuff in it. So even if you don't drink, I find that I take like a shot glass if I really, really need it, fill that shot glass up about that far. I don't even drink all that. I just take teeny tiny sips of that at a time as I need it. And a lot of times I don't even need to finish that. And it's, if nothing else, when I'm coughing during the night, that gets me through the night. I've also created a throat spray using elderberry tincture that also has vodka or rum or something that I used in it. You don't have to make it out of those, but when it comes to the throat and for coughs, I do find those. There was a reason why back when I was a kid, I don't know if they do this anymore, but NyQuil was made with alcohol. It was actually had a high % of alcohol in it. So I can remember being sick, and I was like 8 or something like that. And my parents were bringing in the NyQuil, and I absolutely hated it. It was the nastiest stuff. And I didn't want to take it. I see people used to give this to their kids. And I remember my dad joking around. He goes, well, I'll drink it for you if you want. And I'm thinking, sure, go ahead. It wasn't until I was later that I realized why he said that. Because it's pretty high. It's pretty high in alcohol. It was back then anyway. Now remember, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a licensed herbalist or anything like that. But yeah, I've had several people. I mean, some of these comments I'm seeing that I forget what they are, asking me about specific things. Sciatica pain is pain. I have all kinds of videos. I have a video specifically on a tincture, an extract I make for myself and for Patrick and whoever needs it for pain and inflammation. It's what works for me mostly. It works for Patrick sometimes, but not quite as well as it does for me. Pain is pain. Okay. Though some things might be more specific for some pain than others, it's about finding the pain relieving herb that works best for you. So I also have a video. It's a few years old. I think that was one of the ones that I had to take down and put back up. I don't know. But where I list off a bunch of herbs, and I still don't even think I included them all. A lot of times I learn about more stuff after I shoot videos like that. But I list off a whole bunch of different herbs and other things that you can use to help with pain. Even just taking a little bit of peppermint essential oil or lavender essential oil and just rubbing a tiny bit under your nose. You may need to use a carrier. I never did personally because it wasn't an issue for me, but some people, it is good to try carrier oil first in case it burns. But my favorite blend before I started growing my own pain herbs was a blend of rosemary and lavender. The rosemary helps just kind of open up your brain a little bit, especially if you got brain fog because of headache or whatever. And then the lavender especially kind of calms everything down and really help just immediately. I was always getting headaches, so I'd do that and that would work. So, and yes, Linda has a good point there. If you got a chiropractor, see a chiropractor. Chiropractors, I believe wholeheartedly in chiropractors as long as you can get a good one. So, yeah, I used to have a lot of lower back pain because of a fall I took down the stairs as a teenager. And that was when I was like 16-ish, 16, 17. And then it was in my early 20s, I started seeing a chiropractor, and it helped me so much. I hardly ever deal with lower back pain. Now, if I have any issues, it's upper back pain, and that's because of a different tumble I took down some stairs as an adult with 2 kids and an armful of school books. Yeah, just falling down some stairs. That was a fun thing. Don't ask me about poke. We don't grow it. I don't use it, so I'm not the person to ask. Hopefully somebody else in the chat can answer that for you. There was something else. The book. Somebody's asking me. Guess what, everyone? Somebody's asking me if I have a book. It's kind of a joke. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to make fun of you. Because I know there's a lot of new people coming in, and always, almost daily, somebody asks me, do I have a book? Where's my book? Thank you, Deb. Thank you for that. I really, really appreciate that, because I hate trying to go find links when I'm on here. Thank you so much for that. So yeah, pain and inflammation right there. Now I don't know if that's the tincture or the list, but there you go. I also have one for capsules. But no, anyway, I do not have a book. I have no intentions of writing a book. I am sorry. It's something I get asked about frequently. And I know that Stacy has a book, and Mary has a book, and so has a book, and everybody has a book. That's not my thing. It's not that I don't like writing at all, but I have no desire to write a book. I don't have the time I don't want to sacrifice the time that it takes me to do other things to write a book, but I'm putting out videos with as much information as I can. And you can always go to my channel and you can look up, or if you're on a smart device, it's best just to go to YouTube, right at the top of the search, put rain country, and then put the whatever the search criteria is, pain, inflammation, whatever. And it should pull up, any videos I already have out on those subjects. And that's the best thing I can tell you right now. And also, in the past few years, I've tried to be better about actually typing up recipes. I'm not one to type up my recipes much, because I tend to make stuff up as I go. And that used to annoy the heck out of people. But the funny thing, that was the main reason why I started my YouTube channel. Everybody was like, oh, recipe, please. When I'd show a picture or something, it's like, I just did it. I didn't write down what I did. Then I decided I'll start YouTube so I can show people and explain to them how I do things and why I do things. And sorry, I'm checking. I got an email from my daughter-in-law here. Okay, good. Anyway, yeah, so that's the other thing too. And this is another one I say a lot. I think too many people, it's kind of like the paper on the wall. We think the people with the white coat or the paper on the wall and whatever it is are the only ones that know anything. But how do they, even if they do actually know stuff, even if they do have the retention from all their classes, how did they learn? They learned by studying. They learned by, and I tell you what, when you decide, here's a great example. When I decided it was time that I really felt that Patrick and I could get off the thyroid medication that we'd been on for 15 years, I knew I wouldn't find a doctor around here that would help us. We have no naturopaths around here. I knew that I would have to do the hard work for myself to figure it out, because I had nobody I could go to. And so I just started researching. I started looking, and I looked, and back then, I've said this before, because we've been off of them for over 12 years now. Back then, it was much harder to find that information, which is why in 2018, I put a video, Patrick and I together, where we talked about some of the things we dealt with when we were on the medication, why we decided to go off, and then what we did, what we changed in our diet and in our life so that our thyroids could heal and we could get off the medication and be just fine. And we are, even all these years later. So it was hard. It was a lot of hard work to, sorry, that's just the reminder, because I didn't actually open the text message. It was a lot of, I'm sure you guys are going, is that my phone? Is that my phone? Anyway, it was a lot of hard work. But if it's important enough to you, you will learn and you will retain the knowledge far better than, like, you might watch one of my videos about, I got all these videos about all the benefits of whatever, like, planting. But I might forget what all those benefits are if I've never used that herb for those particular benefits. Have I used it to heal wasp stings? Absolutely. Have I used it for other things? Yes. But I'm not going to remember all that stuff. Even though I compiled the information, I shot the video, that stuff isn't going to, that I haven't used it for, isn't going to immediately come to the front of my brain. I have to go back and watch my own videos. And it's the actual, so the thing is, it's doing your own research and then the doing, the actually doing it, and the seeing the product of doing that. You know, you make that, like another lady recently shared with me about how she followed my elderberry syrup recipe to the T, and recently needed it. And she says it's amazing. It works so good for her. And I'm always glad to hear that, because I'm like, I never know if any of my own recipes, my own creations are actually going to work just as good for anyone else as they do for me. I won't know that. But if you try it and it works for you, I love that so much. But somebody else's recipe may work better for you. Or you may find that you like fire cider better than elderberry syrup or whatever. You know, I actually have, in fact, yesterday when we were at, we were at the fellowship that we recently started going to, which I just love, by the way. Such wonderful people. Just really enjoying being there. But anyway, I'm out there, and a teenage, well, he's not quite a teenager, a preteen boy sat next to me, and he had a terrible cold. And he was sniffling and sneezing and coughing. And I'm like, great. So I'm like, okay, well, I better remember to throw everything I have at it, because I don't know what's going to work best for it. So I haven't taken this yet, but I've got my rosemary extract sitting out on the counter. So when I'm done here, I'm going to take that. This morning, I took a shot of my elderberry syrup. And then later, I took a big spoonful of my spicy honey infused garlic. And I have videos on all of this stuff, so you can always look it up. But it doesn't mean any one of those is better than the other. What it means is that any one of them may work better for you, or maybe all of them. I just figure have everything and throw everything at it. And as long as you're not allergic to it, it's not going to make you sick to your stomach. Throw everything at it you can. I got a couple other things I'm going to do. One of them I already did take a little bit of. I'm going to do it again. But again, it's one of those I can't mention here on this platform. So levothyroxine is what I was on. Patrick was on Synthroid. Remember, these are synthetic medications. And most people, I'm not going to say all, I'm not going to make that statement, but most people that are on thyroid medications do not need to be on them. Part of the reason why is that when you are tested, like we were, all they were testing back then was just our TSH, thyroid stimulate, TSH levels. That is a really poor test, because they're not actually testing your thyroid. They're testing your thyroid stimulating hormone levels, which those could, if those are high, that means your thyroid is low. That's what they'll say. They don't know that. You don't know that. There could be another reason why your thyroid stimulating hormone levels are higher than they should be. And it might not have anything to actually do with your thyroid. So it's a really poor test to base putting someone on drugs for, on pharmaceuticals, excuse me. Let's see. Let's see. I don't see any other specific question. Yep, books are great. I have nothing against books, obviously. I was talking about books. I have books. But for me personally to write one, I'm not doing it. I'm maybe later, if I retire from doing YouTube and I don't have to watch grandbabies anymore, and maybe even if I quit keeping a garden, maybe I'll have time and the desire to sit down and write a book. I'm just not going to do it right now. I appreciate people asking, but I have my own priorities that have to be important to me, that I put far above writing a book. So remember, I'm still putting this information out there. It's still free. You don't have to pay for it, where you'd have to pay for a book. And what if, this is one of the many reasons why I don't want to write a book. I change my recipes all the time. I find something better. And if I've already written the book, well, then I'll have to write another book, and you'll have to buy that too. And I'll have to write, change it again. Got to write another book. No, it's a lot cheaper for you and easier for me just to shoot update videos and say, this is the way I'm doing it now. And to me, that for this moment, that makes more sense. But guess what? There's tons of other people out there that have great books. And I highly recommend investing in those books that are going to be more suited to you. So sorry, I got to get a drink of water. My throat's getting a little dry and a little sore from all the talking. Yep, got to enjoy those grandbabies. I cannot believe Jax is 4. And then so Rowan is over a year and a half. She's walking, by the way, obviously. I mean, most babies are walking by a year and a half, but she's super, super tiny. She's still, I would say, the size of a baby that would be under a year old. She's very tiny. So, and she has little teeny tiny feet. So it took her a lot longer to develop the muscles and the ability to balance. And but she is a ball of fire, that one. And then there's Jace, who's 2.5, and now I have a 4th one on the way. And I cannot believe how fast they've grown. It's like, I mean, it was already over 4 years ago that Jax was born. I just, my first grandbaby. I remember when I started my channel, I was kind of joking around about someday I hope to have grandbabies. Well, now I'm going to have 4. And right now they've got to be more important to me than writing a book. And I know most people understand that. So let's see here. I do have a few other things I was going to talk. See, it was my TSH that was pushing high, but not out of normal. But it was just responding to too much insulin. See? That's what I'm saying. Doesn't have anything to do with the thyroid. I'm not saying it's always that way. So I do want to talk about a few other things, though, before I go. So I can stay on here as long as I want, but I never know how long my vocal cords are going to hold out. So remember, not for those of you who know, I got nodules on my vocal cords from a lifetime of singing in many different types of singing groups, solos, ensembles, and teaching. And teaching dance especially, because you have to be able to speak loud enough that you can speak over the music, when you're throwing out instructions. But one of the things I wanted to bring up is I've heard Zach talk about it and Luke talk about it. And they just contacted me a little bit ago and gave me a discount code to give to you guys for 25% off your first order. So this is Shepherd's Crook coffee. It is so good. I have the Honduras and the Peru. I typically like a dark roast, which is this one, but I really like the Honduras too. And it's kind of interesting when you go to their website, which is linked in the description box along with the coupon code, which would be RAIN25. And that would get you your 25% off if you want to give them a try. I am so sold on these coffees. They are so good. So I'm going to do another order and try a few more. They got a Homestead blend and a Shepherd's blend that both sound really good too. But if you read the description of the coffees, you're like, oh my gosh, these all sound just delectable. And normally I like adding spices to my coffee. I've just been drinking them black. They are so good, so smooth and wonderful. I love them. So I highly recommend Shepherd's Crook coffee. They are US-based, small family-owned business. They are believers, and I just love the fact. I love being able to support, more smaller family-based business whenever I can find one that I really believe in. And so, yes, I was really thrilled. I've heard Zach talk about him before, and then Luke recently talking about it. Luke from the Life Podcast. I'm like, all right, I got to give it a try. Part of me kind of wishes I wouldn't have because it's so good. I don't want to buy any other coffee, and it is, even though it's an average, like a decent price, it's still a little more than what I paid for coffee in the past, especially like the Kirkland brand. But now I'm like, man, I don't want to go back to my Kirkland coffee, and I have a whole bunch of that stored up. But whatever, coffee is coffee when you need it. So okay, trying to see. So there was that. I wanted to bring that up. So if you're interested in good coffee, and especially if you're in the US and you're wanting to support a family-based business, there you go. Give them a try. They even have a sampler pack you can try out. So, you know what? I wasn't a big coffee drinker for many, many years. And I came to Forks. And then, and when I would have coffee, it had to be frou-froued up for me to enjoy it at all. And when I met Patrick, well, his dad, that's all he drinks is black coffee. And so you'd go over to visit and he'd give you a cup of black coffee, and I didn't want to be rude. So I'd drink it. And pretty soon I found I liked it. And I actually eventually found I preferred it black over adding anything to it. Every once in a while, every once in a great while, I might frou-frou up my coffee, especially in the fall. I'll take some of my dehydrated pumpkin, put a little bit of that in there, put a little bit of organic half and half in there, and either some spruce tip syrup or maple syrup. So good. Anyway, I don't do that often, but it is really good. But I used to be highly, highly sensitive to caffeine anyway. And so I just wasn't much of a coffee drinker until I came here. And I was getting the Tar Heel coffee all the time. That was very strong and very black. And me being polite would drink it just like that. So let's see what else. Oh, I know what else it was. And Deb was the one. I can't believe I didn't say this. I haven't gone back and rewatched the video, but I know it's mostly because in the video I did, I think it published on Friday, about my staples or my essentials for foods to stock or preserve. I was thinking mostly about foods that I would dehydrate and can. So this one, is that the dog? Hopefully that's the dog creeping around out there. I think it is. Wednesday, I have to bring Cody in here so he can say hi. Cody. I don't know where he went. Anyway, I forgot pasta. Now, yes, pasta is actually super easy to make. I still like, and I have videos on how to make pasta. Wednesdays, I might make a new video and showing all the different things, natural things you can use to color your pasta with. But I do like stocking up on pasta, and I have a ton of pasta. I have one of my favorite brands for years was the Montebello. It's all made in Italy, but Azure Standard carries a really good that's organic. But Azure Standard also carries a really good organic pasta. I prefer the semolina, not the whole wheat pasta. Whole wheat stuff. I like whole wheat if it's made with hard white wheat, not red wheat. I'm not a red wheat fan. I don't like the flavor of red wheat that much. Never have. I've always, when I was a kid, I didn't know there was more than one type of wheat, but all the wheat bread my mom would buy, because she was a wheat bread eater, I always hated it. And I knew it was healthier for me, but I wanted to like it so badly because I knew it was good for me, but I just couldn't do it. I finally was able to eat like it as toast with butter on it when I got older, but yes. And I have a video on spruce tip syrup. There's a couple different ways you can do it. There's the old-fashioned classic way, which involves no cooking of it. You just basically put your spruce tips. You got to collect them in the spring. You can do this with pine and other types of, your conifers, your trees like that, and evergreens. And you put it in a jar. You pour sugar over it. Some people use white sugar. Some people use brown sugar. And obviously, if you're like me, you're going to go with the organic. And then you just let it sit and basically ferment, and it will pull the moisture out of the spruce tips, and eventually it will get kind of more syrupy. Now, I prefer to cook mine. I did both methods. I actually liked the flavor of the more quickly done one, where it was cooked, because it took on more of a vanilla flavor, whereas the one where you let it sit and ferment, it took on more the lemony flavor, because spruce tips, when they're young, they're very citrusy tasting, which was still good. I just didn't like it as much as the smoother, more lemony flavor. So that's the recipe video I have out. Again, you could search for that on my channel. No, Crystal, I have not. I've only used either just plain white or semolina flour. I haven't tried it. I should try it though, with my favorite blend right now of grains to grind up for flour. A basic flour I use for all kinds of stuff is 50% barley and 50% hard white wheat. I've used spelt before. I like spelt fine, but right now the barley and the hard white wheat are my favorites. It's my favorite blend. I eat a lot of spaghetti, by the way. I love spaghetti, but of course, look at me. I'm Italian. I'm spaghetti. It's been one. I mean, I like lasagna quite a bit, but spaghetti's my thing. It's always been my thing. It's how I roll. Let's see. Okay, so pasta. Yes, I store pasta. And then the other thing somebody pointed out that I forgot, at least I think I forgot, was popcorn. Oh, good grief. I cannot believe I forgot to mention popcorn. We love popcorn. We go through a lot of popcorn. I keep a couple 100 pounds of organic non-GMO popcorn on hand that I get from Azure Standard all the time. I always make sure we have plenty. Here's the great thing about popcorn. I know I've mentioned this in videos before, but I haven't said it in a while. And I was really glad this person brought this up, because popcorn, it's going to store longer and better than regular dried corn. And I mean, it can last for thousands of years. They found like 8,000-year-old popcorn that still popped in a, I was saying in a pyramid. I was thinking it was in Egypt, but I think it was actually in, people say they didn't have popcorn in Egypt, whatever. I thought that's what I read, but it might have been, the Aztecs in their pyramids. But at any rate, it lasts forever. You don't have to do much special with it. You just got to keep it from getting wet so it doesn't get moldy and keep bugs out of it. But here's the other great thing about popcorn, besides just it being a great comfort food, is that you can grind it up and use it as, for making cornbread, cornmeal, whatever. Yeah, it's still a pyramid. Yeah, but I remember thinking, I was sure I read that it was an Egyptian pyramid, but no, it was wrong pyramid. I said that in a video and people kept correcting me, and I'm like, I know I read that. I know I read that. I did. I just had the wrong continent, the wrong country. So anyway, yes, popcorn is definitely an essential that we store up on. So let's see. How are we doing on time? It's only a little after 1, so I'm not too bad. Sometimes I'll go till 1:30. Well, my time, whatever time it is for you guys. Let's see. Somebody asked me, I think it was in last week's live show. This is the question that I had missed. What kind of things do I like to dehydrate in the winter? So if you know about how, like in the summertime, I'll use electric dehydrators because we don't have fire going through the 3 months of summer. That's the only time of the year we don't have fires going inside. But that's when I'm doing a lot of my heavy dehydrating because I got all these herbs coming in. So mostly I'm dehydrating herbs. And in the fall, I've got all these I got the tomatoes. I got excess eggs coming in. And then there's the apples and other things that I really like to dehydrate from the garden. But in the winter, obviously, we don't have all that stuff coming in. So, but I do still use the wood stove for dehydrating. Excuse me, Patrick's, using Patrick's racks that he built me. Now, originally he built the rack because he use old bed rails. He has a video on this. In fact, I just remastered it and put it out not too long ago. It was originally intended to sit on top of the wood stove. And I do still do that when I have to. I hate having to put it on top of the wood stove because it takes up so much room. And when you're using your wood stove for cooking, making coffee, and keeping a pot of hot water perpetually on there in case you need it, especially this time of year with all the storm we've been having. It's a hassle. It's in the way. But when I'm making jerky, I most definitely do that on top of the wood stove. So that's one of the remastered videos I think is coming out this week. If not this week, it's coming out next week. It's an older video, but I remastered it to add more information, make a better picture, better sound. But I have 2 different recipes in there. And so in fact, I've got some roast thawing out right now that I'm going to be cutting up today and getting some jerky going. First thing I have to do is marinate it, put it in a marinade, cut it up, marinate it, let it sit overnight in the fridge. And then tomorrow I'll put it on the racks on top of the wood stove. And that's the best way, because what's happening is it's not only drying it, it's also cooking it. And then I just rotate my racks as it's drying. So, and you'll see that in that video when it comes out. And let's see, the other things I tend to do are things that are going to be more like things that I would buy, like from Azure Standard or local grocery store or whatever that I want to put up. Then I'll use that. If it's something that I think is going to work well using the racks, most of the time they get used next to the wood stove. One of these days I'm going to get brave and try it with eggs and other types of liquids that like broth and stuff. I'm just nervous about trying that. I'm nervous about them not drying fast enough. But I plan on giving that a try sometime this year. I've done it with cheese. I'll do a lot of, because usually it's this time of year we're usually buying the satsumas from Misfits Market or other types of oranges that are, organic. And I'll take the peels and dry them there. I'll dry, what else? Ginger, when I get the fresh ginger from Azure Standard. In fact, that's in my cart for my next purchase. I'm going to stock up on a lot more ginger. And just chop it up. I leave the skins on, dehydrate it. And that works really good. In fact, I even did a short on that. It dries so well on my rack right next to the wood stove. And what else? I wrote down a few things. I know there's things that I'm going to forget. Cabbage. That cabbage I tried on the rack next to the wood stove and it didn't dry. It just wasn't drying. I should try it on top of the wood stove. Onion skins. So when I get the onions, it can be any onions. Usually I'm buying red, but you peel those skins off. A lot of people save them and use them for broth or something. What I do is I just let them dry completely, because there'll be some pieces you might pull off that are thin but not dry, and just let them dry completely next to the wood stove, and then powder them up and mix them in with the granulated onion that I already have. I said citrus peels, ginger, and jerky, that kind of stuff. I still sometimes will have to use my electric dehydrators, but obviously I can't run them off of solar power around here in the wintertime because we get so little collection, because the days are short and most of the time very dark. So some of you, and I know some people are concerned, oh, I heard there's a bomb cyclone. I'm like, what the heck is a bomb cyclone? I've never heard of a bomb cyclone. And so people were emailing me because they were all worried about me. And like, never even heard of that. And I probably wouldn't have known anything about it. But yes, we actually had 2 cyclones right off the coast. The bomb cyclone, which sounds so horrible, did hit some people around us hard, but for us, it was just another standard winter storm. I'm calling them winter storms because once they start, they're the same kind of storm we have all through the late fall and winter. And the amazing thing was both times, so we had there was Tuesday night and then there was Friday night. This one on Friday night was supposed to be farther off. That one actually hit us a little harder than the one on Tuesday night. And it wasn't just Tuesday night. We just kept getting wind gusts all Tuesday afternoon through the night, all the next day. Then it finally calmed down. And then Friday afternoon, clear through part of yesterday, a little bit yesterday. A lot of wind gusts, mostly Friday night. And I'm surprised we didn't lose power. We lose power all the time around here. But like my sister over in Enumclaw, on the Tuesday night one, she lost power for several days. She lost power Tuesday night and finally got it back late Friday morning. So yeah, some people there was like the bomb cyclone. There were like 600. I read a few different numbers. I saw 600,000 people, but another number I saw that was 650,000 people that were without power. I'm like, well, that's amazing because ours is still on. It did flicker a couple times, but that was it. It's like, but we're used to that here. It's just what happens. That's why in that one video that came out this last week about practicing preparedness, we're always practicing preparedness. It's just what we do. We're always practicing. And then we get a real power outage. It's like, Okay, yeah, all our bases are still covered. And the same thing with water. I don't talk about that enough, but I do have a separate video just on water preparedness that I did, I think is within this last year. And we have rainwater collection. We have a lot of water because of that. We have tanks buried in the ground full of rainwater. And then we have tanks above the ground, which are the only ones you're going to see in the video because the other ones are underground, obviously. So we have a lot of rainwater. So we're still on city water, but if we've had like main breaks and things where the water had to get shut off, and it's no big deal. It's just we don't have the convenience of getting the water directly from the sink, but we don't drink or cook with that water anyway. We use the water that we collect and filter ourselves. So let's see. Was there any other questions in here? I still have more things that I can talk about. Let's see. I talked about association. Maybe I'll talk about that. Let me see what else is here. Oh, okay. I covered all that except for one thing, which is really a silly thing, but I'll say it anyway. It's something that kind of makes me laugh a little bit. Every so often when a video publishes, somebody will go, "You changed your music. I missed your old music." And I'm like, well, what old music would that be? So here's the deal. When I first started my channel, I did start off with one main theme song. And within just like the first few months of my channel, I started adding more basic songs. And I have 5 songs that I use on a very regular basis that are all, and I think people might not realize they're all different songs, but they're all ones I use specifically for different types of videos. So I have my Monday this and that video. That song only gets used on my Monday videos, no other videos. Then I have the original song I started with as my theme song, and that one most of the time only gets used on any food related videos, and especially recipe videos and whatnot. Sometimes I'll use something totally different for a recipe video if I just want to add a new flair. So if I'm doing an Italian type dish, I'll use Italian music. If I'm making a Mexican type dish, then I'll use some, Southwest sounding music like that. But, maybe an Asian tune if I'm doing an Asian dish. So, and I've always done this. So it cracks me up when people say, "You changed your music." Well, yeah, sometimes I do every so often add a new song to the basic 5 that I always have. So the one then I have one that's specifically for garden related videos. And I have one that is more specific to health related videos. It depends on the video. I don't use it in all my health related videos, but it is my basic song that I'll fall back on. But I try to keep things changed up to keep it interesting. So I'm not always using all the same songs all the time. And when I come across, every so often, I'll go through the YouTube music list and say, "Oh, there's one." And I'll listen to it just to have something new to throw in the mix, just to keep it more interesting and not boring. I know some people kind of like that, using the same, theme song all the time. If you've ever paid attention to my video feed page, you go to my page, you look at my videos, you'll see that I try really hard not to use the same thumbnail cover or color in my thumbnail 2 or 3 times in a row. I have this certain way I try to. I'm a little too picky about it, but I like being able to go, especially because I use the black background, go to my channel and see all of the different colors in there. To me, it just looks so much more interesting than having every thumbnail look exactly the same. So, and I'm the same way about the music. I don't like it to always be the same. I like to mix it up. So it cracks me up when people say, "You changed your music. What happened to your old music?" It's like, well, I don't know which song you're referring to because I've always used several. So I'm like, maybe they only watch my Monday videos, or maybe they only watch my cooking videos, or they only watch my gardening videos. And then they decide to watch a different type of video and then they're surprised. I don't know. So it's funny to me. But, and I think, Linda, part of the thing is several of the original songs all kind of have a Celtic type sound to them. So there's going to be, they're very different, but they're going to be very similar in sound because they're more Celtic. But I've also thrown in other types of songs too. And then for Patrick's videos, I have a whole set of songs I use specifically for his videos, sometimes cross over into my own videos, depending on what they are. So is that person asking me about iodine? I don't take iodine. Some people need it. A lot of people do need iodine that have a low functioning thyroid, but not everyone. Okay. I got to stress that. I get really frustrated when I see people saying, well, everybody's low on iodine. Everybody needs iodine. We've been lied to. That's just not true about the iodine. Is there a lot of people that probably need iodine that aren't getting enough? Oh, absolutely. Same thing with vitamin D3. Same thing with a whole bunch of other nutrients. But we have to remember, we can't make blanket statements like that because everybody's different. I am one that should not take iodine for the same reason I should not take iron. Even zinc, I have to be very careful with. There's just certain things I don't need or don't need as much of as other people. So everybody needs to realize that. And so just like the D3 thing, I've shared that several times. In the wintertime was the only time I'd take D3. And it would, because I'd always start losing my hair, in larger amounts, than what's normal. Always lose a few hairs every day, right? In the winter, so I'm like, oh, I need vitamin D3. So a few years in the winter, I'd start taking D3 and it would stop. But all of a sudden, instead of stopping it, any hair loss, it made it start falling out more. When I stopped taking the vitamin D3, the hair fall would stop or go back to what's actually normal, I should say. So I'm not sure. Well, none of these are in all caps, so I don't think people are asking questions. Oh, wait, no, there is a question. Remember, all caps help me to see your questions a lot better. It helps them stand out because sometimes people are talking amongst themselves. See, have you and Mr. Rain ever done any of the YouTube challenges? I'm not sure which ones you mean. Maybe we haven't done a lot of collaborations in the last several years. Early on in our channel, we did a few. Like there was the funny ones that Patrick did. That was started by Keeping It Dutch. And that was like how to start a fire without a match. No, what was the first one? How to open a can without a can opener. And then that was followed up by how to start a fire without a match. And I don't think any others came out after that. But those were just for fun. Those were funny. They were comedy. And so Patrick did do those. And I think he did an excellent job. I loved his. That's why I remastered those and put them back out. In fact, I put all my remastered videos into their own playlist, remastered videos. So those are in there. Those were fun. So as far as challenges go, he did those. We've been a part of different carousel boxes. In fact, I started one. I might do another one some point. But usually you gather up 10 other channels and then you do a carousel box and then it gets shipped all over the United States and then comes back to the original person. And what you do is we started it, we put in 10 things of ourselves, things that we've made, some seeds, skin cream, different things like that, and ship that off. And then to the first person on the list, and then they would take out 1 or 2 things and then put in 1 or 2 things. So there was always 10 items in the box. And so it went all over the United States. Like Bandana Grandma was that last one I did. Bandana Grandma, Mary's Nest, Deep South Homestead, Amy Fuel. Gosh, I'm going to forget who all was involved. But there was a total of 9 other channels besides our own. And I might do that again, but I wasn't the original creator of that idea. But we've been a part of a few of those. And then we've been part of other collaborations where you focus on a certain topic. And then you try to get well, like the fermented, that's the only one I've done in the past couple of years is fermented homesteads. Every February, she does a fermented February and gets a bunch of channels on board. And then throughout the whole month of February, there's a new video that comes out from the different channels. Like Constance from Cosmopolitan Cornbread has been in those. And gosh, a whole bunch of people. I'm going to forget. Anyway, so I've been part of those. But as far as other challenges, I guess I don't know anything about them. Oh, yeah, I really like Redmond's Real Salt. And then now that Azure Standard is carrying the Himalayan pink salt, I get that there. I also have the Celtic sea salt, the stuff that's gray. And I get it in the, I like to use that one for canning. It tends to be saltier than the other ones. So I like to use that one for canning. I'll just put a little spoonful in the jar, when I'm canning vegetables and whatnot. And then I also, this one is more just for fun. There's a Hawaiian black sea salt that I'll use from time to time. For some reason, I really like that on something sweet. So if let's say I have ice cream with some homemade jam, I might sprinkle a little bit of that black salt on top. It's so good. The salt just kind of adds a nice flavor to that sweetness. So remember, if you're asking me questions, please put them in all caps so I know you're addressing me, but I'm going to assume the one about the mushroom coffee is to me. Well, if you mean just taking like a specific brand or type, no, but, and I wouldn't have it here, but I do have quite a few jars of dried turkey tail mushroom from around our area. And every now and then when I'm in the morning, when I'm having my coffee, I will drop one of those, a piece of the mushroom into my coffee cup and then pour the coffee over it and let it sit for a while. And it adds, I like the kind of woodsy flavor it adds. I don't like it all the time, but I'll do that. And I'll usually drink a few cups of coffee off of that one piece of mushroom. So I do that. But I haven't tried grinding it up and putting it in the coffee because the reason why is I've wanted to do this with cocoa nibs, grind it up with the coffee beans and then make coffee like that. But Patrick is far more picky about his coffee than I am when it comes to, he'll drink just about any brand or type, but when it comes to flavors, he just wants coffee flavor. He doesn't want any flavor in his coffee. So if I'm ever going to do that, I'd have to use a different coffee pot. I've actually considered getting like a smaller coffee pot or even using my stainless steel teapot and then putting like ground coffee, in my little cloth tea bags, my cotton tea bags. Ooh, I should make some tea bags out of linen. That would be a cool idea. Anyway, put the ground coffee in there, maybe the ground mushroom and whatever else I want to put in there, like the ground up cocoa nibs, and then make my coffee that way. It would just be a smaller amount at a time, but it would just be mine. And then he doesn't have to whine about the flavors in my coffee. So typically, though, I do not, like I said earlier, I do not usually add any kind of sweetening to my coffee or very, very, well, that's far more rare than the occasional little bit of half and half I might add. And even that I don't do very often, maybe once a month tops. Most of the time it's black or it's black with my spice blend, like maybe about a half a teaspoon or maybe closer to an eighth of a teaspoon added to the cup. And I'll put that in there and that's where I get my flavors. And my spice blend has cloves, nutmeg, cinnamon, ginger. This is all ground. And one more I'm forgetting. There's 5. Let's see. Cinnamon, cloves, nutmeg, ginger. Oh, and cayenne pepper. That's the 5. The 5 spices. Excuse me, I'm spitting again. I hope I didn't give you all a shower. Oh, I should have done this. I hope you didn't give you all a shower with my little teeny tiny hand. The cayenne pepper, I definitely put less of that. So I have a recipe video out on there. So the spice that's most of is cinnamon. So the Ceylon cinnamon, and then I think it's approximately equal amounts of the ginger, the cloves, and the nutmeg, and a little less than that of the cayenne. So Deb likes my teeny tiny hand. Oh, I got to come up with some more fun, silly stuff because it's fun and it's silly. But yeah, I like doing that, especially in the wintertime, because it's really helpful for, you know, preventing colds, flus, and whatnot. That's why in almost every type of cold, flu prevention kind of thing I make, I'm always adding all those same spices or horseradish. So I don't put that in my coffee. Ew, that doesn't sound very good. But I really like using the horseradish from my own garden that I've dehydrated up and then ground it up. And I like using that in my honey infused garlic. I know somebody was kind of snotty about it. And it's like, well, your honey infused garlic is pretty much just fire cider. And it's like, well, no, not quite. There are a lot of similarities, and I have actually used peppers in my honey infused garlic, not jalapenos, but peppers from my garden. I switch it up. I do a whole bunch of different things with it. I really like the horseradish in there, though, the dried horseradish, and let it sit in there, and the black seed, and then the spices. Love that. So I don't know what to tell you about I've never used McCormick Ceylon cinnamon. I've only bought organic Ceylon cinnamon. I've got it from Frontier. I get both the sticks, and because those I like to use in teas, and then the ground. But like I said before, now I start getting more of that kind of stuff from Azure Standard. It might be the brand you're using. I haven't bought anything McCormick in years and years. I'm not saying it's bad. I've just never bought that brand. I'm typically always looking for something that's organic. Cayenne pepper in my coffee. So you use cayenne pepper in your coffee too? Yeah. It's also very good in cocoa. I don't drink a lot of cocoa, but there's just something really, really yummy about a spicy cocoa. So you make your cocoa, add a pinch of cayenne pepper to it. Oh, so good. So let's see. Anything else in here? Let's see. I like the mocha coffee spice blend in my coffee. Well, and then there's also my jet fueled latte blend, which is totally different. That was one of the things I cut out coffee altogether for a while when I was first going off the thyroid medication, just in case coffee might have been one of the things. And then made us that blend, the jet fueled latte blend, which I have that's another one of the videos that I've redone. So it should be fairly newish. Just look up on my channel, jet fueled latte. And I make that, I would just mix it with hot water. You could use some kind of, to make it actually a latte. You can actually, because latte means milk. So, excuse me, you can use like whatever your favorite dairy-free milk is, coconut milk, almond milk, Brazil nut milk, cashew milk, whatever. And remember, if you're vegan or dairy, you have to be dairy-free. I have a whole playlist just on dairy-free ideas because I was a vegan for a short period of time. Just wanted to try it out. And I like the fact that I learned a lot of stuff, but it wasn't the best health choice for me. I've tried it a few times, and every time the results end up being the same, no matter how good I am about it. Let's see. So anyway, I do still like a good nut milk every so often, and one of my favorites is Brazil nut and hazelnut mixed together, and then cashew and pecan. One of my very favorites. And then so anyway, I have dairy-free playlist where I show how to make the different milks and what you can do with them, how you can make a fettuccine sauce or Alfredo sauce with it, or even take the pulp and use it in cookies or use it to make a cheese. But anyway, so you could use, I guess sidetrack. You can use the whatever your favorite dairy-free milk is, or half and half, or whole milk, whatever you want to use in place of water. And or You can just add it to your coffee. If you're not trying to cut out coffee, sometimes will add that directly to my coffee. Sometimes I'll have it with just hot water. If I'm trying to, because I was having some gut issues recently and I didn't know what was going on. So I tried cutting out everything, cut out all the spices, cut out coffee, cut out a bunch of stuff for a while. And I think it started off as a stomach bug because my daughter-in-law had it and some other people around here had it. But then it was just like it kept hanging on for weeks and weeks. So I thought there's something else going on here. So maybe I just need to, maybe it caused possibly the beginnings of an ulcer. So I decided to cut a lot of stuff for a while. And so the things that really helped me were, doing that. And I only needed to do it for like a week. And then drinking a blend of marshmallow and ginger tea. And because, I was using the marshmallow root. Well, the marshmallow root itself doesn't make a great tasting tea. So I threw the dried ginger in there, which is also very good for your stomach, for your digestion as a whole. And it was such a good tea, and it really helped my stomach. And finally, the nausea finally stopped. Just very shortly after making that change. Now I'm back to drinking coffee, and I'm fine. So I haven't gone back to adding the spices in my coffee yet because I want to wait it out a little bit. But yeah. So I was doing the jet fueled latte blend with hot water during that time, since I wasn't drinking coffee, just so I could stay just in case it was possibly the coffee, or if in case any of that stuff was causing irritation with a possible ulcer, which I think is something that might have developed as a result of that weird stomach bug. It was a weird one. A lot of people were getting it, and it was just never heard of such a thing. Just how long it hung on. Usually you get a stomach bug, it's like 24 hours, it's gone. No, this was weeks. So let's see here. Question. That reminds me, I was wondering how I could make homemade almond extract. Well, here's the thing. I actually have a video, one of my first extract for flavoring videos I did besides vanilla. One of the things I was trying in that video was making an almond extract, mistakenly thinking I could just use almonds, which you can, but almond extract, like you buy in the store, even if it's natural, it's not made with almonds. Usually they're using what's called a bitter almond or apricot or peach kernels. They're very closely related. And I know people are going to freak out. And that's another thing I can no longer talk about on YouTube, is that particular substance that's in there that will not kill you, but you just gotta be careful. So, yeah, peach bit seeds, crack them. There you go. Because that's where they get more of that flavor. It's going to be far stronger in those than in the almonds themselves. They're, like I said, they're all closely related. Because if you ever see an almond fruit, it looks kind of like an apricot, but the little fruit is like really, really thin. It's hardly fruit at all. I don't know if anybody does anything with that outer layer. Let's see. Yeah, I got lots of great stomach herbs. And like I said, the marshmallow root that I grow myself, it worked great. I love it. Whenever I don't usually have stomach issues, but so that was weird. And I was like, I need to do this because this is just not going away. So I started doing the marshmallow root with the ginger, and I was just almost immediately, things got better. Love it. So peach leaves in a tincture make a great almond flavor. Really? Of course, we don't have peach trees around here. Well, we did, but we took them out because they weren't bearing fruit. But I wish I would have known that sooner. I would have tried that. Interesting. I know there's a plant. I tried to grow it and it all died on me. And now I can't remember the name of it. I hope somebody remembers. It's an herb. And for a lot of people, it kind of grows wild, that you can use as a vanilla bean replacement for making vanilla extract. Apparently, it doesn't take on the vanilla aroma and flavor until it's dried. So you have to dry it first. And I wish I could remember the name of it. Oh, it's just right there at the tip of my brain. I'm hoping somebody remembers. But since vanilla beans can be really, really expensive and hard to grow, it's something that, like I say, I know a lot of people, it grows like a weed. I'd like to try it again at some point. Oh man, I can almost remember it. Oh, I hope somebody in here knows what I'm talking about. It's just a little small plant, gets little tiny white flowers on it. And makes me so mad. I know I've mentioned it in a video before, but unfortunately never got to try it because they started to grow. I bought the seeds, they started to grow, they got about this big, and then they just fizzled out on me. So, see, I know that we cannot mention. That's not what I'm talking about, Trina, but yeah, that's another one. No, I'm talking about a certain substance that is in your peach, apricot, seeds, apple seeds. We're not allowed to talk about that one either. It's a B vitamin, actually. Believe it or not, it's a B vitamin. Not allowed to talk about that one either. So let's see. No, Linda, if that's not the one. I've never heard of that one. Not Jasmine, not Star of Bethlehem, not unless those are different names for the same thing. I would recognize it if I saw it, or if I saw the name. I could see Star of Bethlehem possibly being another name for it because of the little white. I think they're kind of star. Michelle, correct, Michelle. B after 16. You are correct. I wonder if I can just let me try to see if I can look it up really quickly. Let's see. Herb that tastes like vanilla. Let's see if I can find it. That's not it. What? No, those aren't. I guess there's a few of them out there. But yeah, this one, they're small leaves, small flowers, and ponderosa pine, really. Those don't grow here. Gosh, I was hoping it would just pop right up at the top. Dang it. Oh, let me see. I have another idea. I might be able to find it in my bookmarks. Maybe I have a special folder just for bookmarks in relation to herbs. And there's a lot here. I could be on here all day. I have so many. I have a lot of bookmarks in here, and I don't want to keep you guys on here all day with me trying to find it. So let me get back to the chat and see if anyone came up with it. Let's see. Clear. Nope, that's not it. Not chickweed. I know I can grow chickweed around here. It's not chickweed. Doggone it. Hopefully what I'll do is I'll try to look that up and either mention it in next week's live or in the next, not tomorrow's. Woodruff. That's it. Sweet woodruff. Thank you, Deb. You got it. That's it. Now, if that's the one, like maybe people did mention it by other names, and yeah, Trina said it too. That's the one I was talking about. So I tried to grow it, but yeah, apparently it makes a really good vanilla extract. So I'm curious at some of the other names. I know it's not. I don't think Cleavers is the same name for the sweet woodruff. Oh, I see that Trina said it up here too. She said it in two places. Yeah. I don't know if it has other names or if any of the other names that people threw out there, like Star Bethlehem. I don't know if it might have other names, but yes. So if you can grow that or you're already growing it, try dehydrating it and then see if it takes on that smell and then see if you can make an extract. I was really wanting to give it a try. So I was bummed when all of mine died. I really should try that again this next year with my garden. Try it again. So, yeah, group effort. Yeah. So you can try that if you're wanting, because vanilla beans are so expensive and not everybody can grow the vanilla. Isn't it an orchid of some kind? Yeah, that wouldn't grow here. Not here, that's for sure. Oh, so Sandra D is growing some sweet woodruff. So yeah, look into that. I know I have a link somewhere in here about how to make an extract with it. It's pretty much the same thing. It's, like it would any kind of other extract. But yeah, I really want to try it. So, and Chick Girl says she's growing it too for infusing wine. Never tried it for a replacement for vanilla. So I would love to hear anyone's, if you try it, because I have a feeling I'm never going to get it. If I do get it to grow, it's going to be a while before I can get enough and actually be able to make an extract and see how it turns out. So if any of you guys try that, let me know. Let me know how that turns out for you, because I would really like to know, because I would definitely want to be trying that again. Even though I have a lot of vanilla beans stored up, which of course I vacuum seal them so they'll stay soft and pliable. I've gotten probably enough vanilla beans to last me for the rest of my life. But I would still like to know. But and that brings me, I should probably get off here. I got other stuff I got to do. That does bring me to another question. I've been getting a lot more lately about vacuum sealing things like raisins, cranberries, and whatnot. And a lot of people, it comes back to the same scare tactic. And what happens is people will hear something and then they'll turn around and repeat it without actually looking it up and understanding about botulism and vacuum sealed goods. Constant. Here's the thing. Botulism can't live on something that is highly acidic, is high acid, which is going to be pretty much any of your fruits. So what's raisins? Dried grapes. It's a fruit. Cranberries. Well, we know those are very sour, so we know they're high in acid. So I am not at all afraid of that. And by vacuum sealing those kind of things, you're going to keep them softer. Otherwise, if you just keep them in a box, what happens to raisins? They turn like into pebbles. So if you're wanting to store them long term, yes, I vacuum seal them. Am I going to absolutely guarantee you that the chance of getting botulism is 0%? No, I'm not going to do that. However, it is incredibly rare, even on the things it's most likely to happen on, which is going to be low acid foods and a wet environment with no to low oxygen. Even then, it's incredibly rare. So if you actually look at this, you can go to is it either the FDA or CDC or both, and you can look up the actual statistics. And if you pay attention and you do the math, you'll realize that, gosh, I'm more apt to die from, getting hit by a flying champagne cork or or I'm more apt to get struck by lightning. So it's just, it's just another one of those things that then everybody wants to get on the bandwagon, never do this, never do that, and then get everybody all freaked out about everything. If you don't feel safe vacuum sealing your raisins, your almonds or whatever, then don't do it. But you want to at least make sure that all of your nuts are well sealed and do not get continual oxygen exposure, because they will go rancid. This is why I vacuum seal, so that they do not go rancid. The chances of them going rancid are the chances of them going rancid in long-term storage without vacuum sealing are pretty much 100%. The chances of you getting botulism on your vacuum sealed nuts is, well, I'm not going to give you a percentage, but is very, very low, very rare. And even more rare on dried fruits that are still pliable. That's, anyway, it's like the nut thing really gets me too, because I remember back in the 70s and 80s, I don't know if it's like this anymore, but you used to see commercials. Planters Peanuts used to constantly, that was their big selling point, opening that jar, opening that can, because it was vacuum sealed. It said right on the can or right on the jar, vacuum sealed for freshness. That also prevented rancidity. So if it was this big scary thing, they wouldn't be selling it like that. I don't know if you see commercials like that anymore, but I remember those commercials. So you can even find them on YouTube if you look. It's kind of fun. You can look around and find some old commercials because they didn't smell good. Yep. Nuts will definitely go rancid. In fact, I sadly came across one of my jars of Brazil nuts that I put it up 2 years ago and didn't realize the seal this is why I say always leave your jars out for a day before you put them away in storage. It lost its seal and the nuts, opened it up, nuts were rancid. Jar put up same exact time. The Brazil nuts are perfectly good. No rancidity whatsoever. So they can go rancid. Different nuts are going to hold up longer than others, but Brazil nuts are one of those that are more likely to go rancid quicker than others. And they're not cheap. So that was painful to throw those out. And you don't want to eat rancid fats because they're pretty much toxic. Really bad for you. This is why you should never fry or, anything in an oil that doesn't have good heat stability, like olive oil, especially the more virgin it is, the less you want to apply heat to it, or lots of heat. Do you have a good herbal suggestions for chronic insomnia? I do have I don't know if I have a video on a list of herbs out there, but I do have a video on an extract I make for helping with sleep. But some of the most common herbs are going to be valerian. Though if you get the root, it can be pretty powerful. Some people can't handle it. It gives them very vivid dreams. For another person, maybe something, a light sedative like catnip or catmint, lavender. There's all kinds of them out there. So, oh, you did say or valerian. Well, just gave you a couple others. Yeah, a lemon balm is another one. I see lemongrass. I didn't know about lemongrass, but I know lemon balm and chamomile. Exactly. So anyway, I'm going to have to get off here. It's hard for me to get off here. Hops. Thank you. There's another one. Because I have so much fun here with you guys. It's just kind of fun to sit and chat and just be silly, but also be serious when I need to be serious and say the important things and get my silly props out and do whatever. So I hope that helped and I was able to answer a few questions. And again, I will go back either later today, tomorrow or something and look through the chat and see if I missed any important comments and then try to answer them in next week's live show like I did with the one about what I dehydrate in winter. That's just a few things. I know there's more I'm forgetting, but there's just a few ideas. So I hope you all have a great day, rest of your day or night, whatever the case may be. And thanks for popping in here. And thanks, Deb, for being my moderator. You were flying solo today, Deb. We're gonna have to tell Tyler what we think next week if he pops in here. But anyway, thank you, everyone. Take care and God bless. Love you all. And end.